Welcome to the Get Zoned In podcast, the official podcast of Zone Sports Academy. I'm your host, Duke Baxter. Each week, we will help educate and motivate you so that you can dominate the game of life on and off the field. We will introduce you to players, coaches, and professionals covering all aspects of the great game of baseball and softball. So if you're ready to get zoned in, let's go. Before we get to know you and your background a bit, you're currently the director of the scouting operations at PBR New Jersey. Can you explain to our listeners what Prep Baseball Report is and what you do in your current role right now?
Yeah, so it's the largest scouting infrastructure in the country, independent scouting infrastructure. And it's basically just an evaluation, a third-party evaluation of high school players and actually junior college players too now. So we go out, we hold events, we hold tournaments, we go out to games during the high school seasons. And we're just evaluating talent. We have rankings. That's kind of like our big thing is our player rankings in high school. But I mean that's pretty much it. We're just kind of like an evaluation company.
Awesome. So you were born and raised in New Jersey. Can you talk a little bit about your childhood, family? Do you have any siblings? And was baseball a big part of your family?
Yeah, so my dad actually just retired this year. He coached up at Rampo High School in Bergen County for 20 years. Awesome. My grandfather was a coach. He coached at FDU for a couple of years in the 70s and was a coach in Bergen County for a while. My older brother was an All-American at Tulane University, first-round draft pick in 2008. He's now the underclass, I guess, scouting supervisor at PBR. And my younger brother is now a freshman at Mississippi State playing baseball.
Man, so you got it in the blood. You got it in your blood.
Yeah. No, it's baseball through and through here.
Awesome. So around what age do you remember falling in love with baseball? It sounds like it was in your family since you were born, but do you remember when that actually happened that you were like, man, I love this game?
You know what? I just always remember watching my older brother play. As far as I can remember, I was always going to my dad's practices at Rampo and, kind of idolizing those guys that were, juniors and seniors back in, the late 90s, early 2000s. So, I just really enjoyed being around the game, kind of just hanging out. And I was just always at practice, always at games. So it was just, I guess, through osmosis.
Awesome. So you found great success at the high school baseball level, earning all-state honors as well as being a finalist for the New Jersey State Player of the Year. What was a key factor to excelling during that time? Like, what was your thing?
A lot of hard work. I would get up. I remember my senior year, or my junior and senior year, I'd get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and work out a couple times a week, and then go to school for a full day. Just like work ethic and just, that blue collar mindset, just getting after it, not worrying about anything else except, a goal.
And at what point did you realize that you had the talent and you'd be able to earn the opportunity to continue your career at the collegiate level?
I guess it was my junior year. I always thought that I was pretty good. And, I played on John Wilson, who's a scout for the Minnesota Twins. He actually had a travel organization.
The Cardinals, right? Was it the Cardinals back then?
He was the Twins, the New Jersey Twins.
The New Jersey Twins.
Yeah. And, he kind of took us around throughout all the, the big tournaments across the country. And some, the date used to be July 1st going into your junior year or senior year or whatever. So I got a couple phone calls there and that was kind of it.
So you went to Monmouth.
Yeah.
Monmouth University. How did you decide that Monmouth was the best fit for you? During that college recruiting process, obviously you had an older brother that played, so you kind of knew about it a little bit, but, what was the deciding factor for you?
Yeah, I did get lucky, and my dad had gone through it and my brother had gone through it, so we kind of knew what to expect. But it was more about kind of going on those official visits and meeting the coaches firsthand, meeting the guys on the team. It came down to 3 schools: Monmouth, Siena, and Lafayette. And I liked Monmouth, local, down the shore, New Jersey, everything. So Really just fell in love with the school. Coaches were great, and the guys on the team were great too.
So, like your high school career, you found great success at the collegiate level, including throwing a no hitter. So you threw a no hitter. Can you talk a little bit about your collegiate baseball experience and what made that so special? I mean, throwing a no hitter at that level, I heard it was only the second one in like Monmouth history at the time.
Yeah. No, it was great. I mean, we had a great group of guys my freshman year and sophomore year, good group of upperclassmen. My freshman year, we had a first rounder, Pat Light. He's from Colts Neck. He played for the Red Sox for a bit. So he was a guy to kind of look up to in terms of work ethic and stuff like that. Again, it's Division I baseball. It's a different animal. You come in your freshman year and you're expecting, you're going to be the big guy on campus, just like you were your senior year of high school, but it's a little bit different. Most of the time, freshmen don't play right away. So it was a little bit of an adjustment period for me, as I'm sure all freshmen feel all of the country every single year. But it's great. It teaches you a lot of perseverance and a lot of that hard work mentality just to keep at it.
So, following your collegiate career, you continued your career at the professional level, signing with the Rockland Boulders of the Can-Am League. What was it like signing your first professional contract? And was that a dream come true for you? Was it something that you always wanted to do, or?
Yeah, you know what? It was something that I kind of wanted to dabble with. Right after I was done playing college ball at Monmouth, it only lasted about 10 days, which is, indie ball, so be it. But it was a good experience. I threw a couple innings. I threw on the 4th of July, which was pretty cool.
It's awesome.
In front of like a couple thousand fans. So it was cool. It was just a good experience to be around some older guys that have been baseball lifers and see how they go about the game every day.
So, like all baseball players, there comes a time when you hang up your cleats and you have to step away from the game as a player. Following your playing day, you jumped right into coaching, becoming an assistant at Wayne Hills High School in Passaic County. What was your first coaching experience like? You go from playing, it's a whole different animal when you start to coach, and you have high school kids that are just they're there and don't have to be there. And what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was a different animal. I coached the freshman team. A buddy of mine who actually is my right-hand man with PBR now, Brian Jalali, was the head coach at the time. My other buddy, who's now the assistant, he's the pitching coach at Villanova, was the assistant, Rob Delaney. So it was kind of just fell into my lap. And it was different. It was different.
Right.
There was guys, it was 14-year-old kids that, were going out in the middle of March playing baseball, and kids that, like you said, don't necessarily want to be there, but it was cool being on the other side of the lines and seeing what coaches have to go through every single day.
Right. And what would you say was the biggest challenge for you? Like you being pretty much just being out, still young, still, they look up to you, but you're kind of buddy. Like, what was the biggest challenge?
Yeah. I mean, you kind of hinted at it there. It's different. It's tough to kind of draw that line where you're more of the coach versus the friend, if you will.
Right.
It's definitely something that comes with building confidence as a coach, and especially as a young coach that's been through all the rigor of high school ball. But it's a learning curve, like everything.
Awesome. So following the coaching stint, you joined PBR New Jersey in 2016. What about that opportunity appealed to you the most? Like, what got you into that?
It was kind of a funny road. I had just gotten done with the Boulders, and I was reaching out to a couple of my college coaches about, what I could do. I didn't know if I wanted to get into coaching as a volunteer somewhere, or, just keep pursuing my degree at school in the fall. So, they had a buddy of theirs who's now the pitching coach at Elon University, Sean McGrath, who actually had the job at PBR New Jersey before me.
Great guy, by the way. Great guy.
Awesome guy. Sean's great. And they were just like, give him a call, see what he thinks and see what he says. So I actually ended up just cold calling this guy McGrath, who I had pitched against, at Iona. And he was like, yeah, just come on board. I'll show you the ropes. And he took me out to the Met Classic out at Hofstra University. And that was incredible. It was like the first time I got to see like really good baseball. And it was actually, I got to see Bo Bichette up close.
Really?
Oh yeah. So it was like, this is crazy. These guys are real good. And that was when Luca Delatri was still going to senior year. So it was a bunch of these guys that were like real good. And I was like, holy smokes, this is what it's all about right here. And I just kept on.
I think something that resonates, I think, with a lot of people is, like you said, you took a chance. You had no idea. You had no clue what was going to happen. You're talking to someone that you don't really know that well in a industry that you know, but maybe not the scouting realm. And you took a shot and look there you are now, 2019, 3 years into it, and you're still there, and things are going well. The PBR's blowing up, and I mean, it was all because you went out on a limb and just went after something.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I was so young and dumb, I really didn't have anything to lose. And it worked. Like you said, it worked. It's been working out so far, so I'm happy.
So PBR continues to grow, become one of the most respected independent scouting services in the game of baseball. With that growth, for a parent and player who's learning about the recruiting and scouting process, there's so many camps and clinics and services out there, and many of them are extremely expensive. It can be expensive. It can be overwhelming. Can you pass on some advice or direction to our listeners to help them best select the right platforms to use? There's a lot out there, and it's overwhelming. It's like every weekend there's something, and I think the parents are, and with social media, everything's in people's faces all the time. And, whether you go to this event, you feel like you missed that one, and you go to that one, you feel like you missed this one. And it's like, you want to just say, guys, just put the brakes on a little bit. You're only 12 years old. I say that and smile, but there's more and more at that age, but it is important, and kids do want to be involved and see where they stack up. So what's some advice that you have to give on that for the listeners?
I get this question a lot, and it's definitely a tough question to answer because it's a really convoluted process to go through the college baseball recruiting process. I think the most important thing is making sure you have a true evaluation of what type of player you are, right. And that might not be a Division I player. That might be a Division II, Division III, maybe even a JUCO guy out of high school. But you kind of have to really sit down and look at the numbers. Where do I stack up? If I'm a tall, lanky 6'4" right-hander that's in the low 80s as a junior, maybe I got a shot. But if I'm a shorter guy with some velocity, maybe a guy won't take a shot at me right away. But I can develop. Maybe junior college is the route for me. But it's really kind of sitting down with your high school coach or even your travel coach and just saying, hey, what do you think my options are? You've seen me now for a fall or a full summer or even both of those, seasons. What do you think? So that's really your first route. Your next route is definitely getting video, whether that's with PBR or wherever. Just make sure you have a video of yourself pitching or playing defense or hitting, just so, if a coach is asking for it and you actually end up, reaching out to that coach, you have something to refer to. Right. And I think something else that goes overlooked is emails. People think that, you're just going to post a video on Twitter and people are going to see it. It may or may not actually happen. You might have to do some vetting for yourself, reaching out to these coaches. And, it's always important to have a well-structured email when you're reaching out to recruiting coordinators or head coaches. Make sure that you have, where you're going to be playing in the summer or in the fall, your schedule, your GPA, your test scores, and some reliable stats. And that's where we come into play. You can put your PBR profile on there, and the coach can kind of have at it.
And I think that's, what we always tell our people is that same thing of, it's about being real with them. We always could just call it real talk. Like it is what it is. Measurables are what they are. Yeah, there are intangibles, and yeah, you want work ethic and you want to work hard and you need gritty guys and all that stuff is a humongous piece of the puzzle as well. But the measurables do give a lot of telling you where you can go on the journey. It helps you with what that level is, and that's what I think that with PBR, it's what makes it so good is that it does bridge that gap between where do I think I can go. Well, they're going to tell you with these numbers are going to say, well, this is probably if you really want to go to Vanderbilt and you're throwing 78 and you're a righty and you're already a junior, I'm not going to say you can't go to Vanderbilt, but I'm going to show you that the average pitcher that's a right-hander is throwing 94. The numbers are going to say that Vanderbilt might not be, and I think it's just being, there's a school out there for everybody. It's just trying to find that and help guide along, through the through that journey and being real.
And you have to figure, like, recruiting coordinators and college coaches, they have a job to do, and their job, they have a short amount of period to go see the potential prospects for themselves. And if you can cut the time down for them by sending them your stats, that's one thing that's really important. But if you're having trouble evaluating yourself with your stats, and you're sending, like you said, Vanderbilt a 77-mile-an-hour right-hander, you're potentially wasting your time, and you could be wasting the coach's time. That's
Right.
never really a good thing.
And we also like to say it's almost like your video is it's like your business card. You're giving your business card to somebody. They're watching you. They're not going to sign you from watching your video, but it's going to tell them if you can't play. They're going to look at him and be like, he's not for, or I'm going to go out and see him. So having that right away is something that's almost mandatory. We tell them, because once you're a sophomore, junior, like, you need to have that. So when they reach out to you, you can immediately send them that instead of just sending them an email saying, I'm interested in your school. They want to see you to see if they're, if there's interest or not interest. So, so a question that we get asked a lot of times that, the parents ask us is, what's the difference between perfect game and PBR? There is a difference. There's some similarities. There's some things that are kind of the same, but there are differences. Would you mind just, touching briefly on that, of just kind of what the difference is?
Yeah. I think we, as a company at PBR, we pride ourselves on being like the localized person, in the state.
Right.
If you go to other events, you might not necessarily have one guy that you're going to ask questions to, or somebody to provide answers to. Some people like other showcases. I don't even know. I don't know all of the showcases that are out there, but they might just hide behind a name. Whereas I think we at PBR do a good job of exposing ourselves and putting ourselves out there and putting on just high quality events. So there's always somebody to answer to or to ask questions about, and that's for sure what we're about.
And it seems like every single weekend there's a national showcase. Like the best of the best. It's like, well, this week's the national showcase of this, and next weekend is like, well, this is the national show, and we're like, it's like it gets, from a kid's standpoint, it's like, oh, I want to go down there and for that one, it's like, oh, then I want. And next thing you know, it's like, well, eventually the money runs out to where you can only do so many things. So, it seems really exciting that PBR, I don't know the right terminology for this, but it seems like a lot of your events, are at Lake Point, Georgia, which is an amazing facility. Been there. It's awesome. And you guys are doing a lot of stuff there. Is that, what's the, is that kind of like your home base now, or is it where you run events? It's an amazing place.
Yeah, it has become our kind of main hub for events.
Okay.
We used to do a lot of our bigger events out at Grand Park, which is just north of Indianapolis, Indiana, which is an outstanding facility. We still do events there. I think the Indiana guys still do a bunch of events there. I know national stuff's still there, but I would say definitely Lake Point has become our central hub for the national team events and even the future games that happened last month. So it's an awesome facility. I had never been there before last month. They're doing a lot of great things down there with video and TrackMan stuff. So it's really cool to see.
So, a lot of our growing audience are middle school and high school aged baseball players who had dreams of playing collegiate baseball. What advice can you pass along to them that may help them with the recruiting journey? Along with their performance, what are other ways that can help a young player get on the radar of a prospective, college baseball program?
I think it starts with, looking into yourself and kind of going the extra mile. And I had mentioned before that, I used to get up at 5 a.m. and work out. And at the time I didn't know that doing that stuff would really affect, my personality or even my performance. I just did it. It was something that I did. And it was something that me and my brother did when he was home from pro ball. We were just all right, I guess we got to go work out now. So let's go work out before I get tired at 4:00 when I get home from school, and now that I think about it, like 10, 12 years later, it's like, wow, that was really crazy. Cause now,
Right.
guys get into the jobs and to the workforce and it's tough to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I was doing it in high school. And it's something that you kind of have to look at and say, what can I do? Am I doing the most important thing that I can physically be doing? And I heard somebody say it, I forget who it was, like, if you want to be in the top 1%, of athlete, or, of baseball, any type of sport,
Anything,
you
right?
have to do 1% things. You have to do things that other people won't, so it's definitely something that, you have to look into yourself, do some self-reflection with.
That's awesome. Because I think that when you do wake up early and you are busting your butt, when the going gets tough, it's tough to knock down a guy that has put in the work. Sometimes you tell guys and you're like, "Hey, man, have you been hitting? Have you been lifting? Have you?" Yeah. Then all of a sudden, the situation comes about, and they're the ones that are nervous because the confidence isn't there because they don't, they didn't put in the work. And it's easy to say one thing, but doing it is another thing. So I love that when you said that about the 1%. It's doing the little things every day that turns into something really big. That was awesome. So travel baseball obviously has become a huge business over the last decade with so much information. There's so many options out there. It always seems that, this new place is the next best thing. Coach or team. Can you talk about the importance of longevity and consistency with a program and or a coach? Because we had a player that went on to play Division I baseball, and they specifically said, one of the things that got him the scholarship that he had was he stayed with the same organization. And that instead of how come you didn't bounce to here, how come you didn't, they really, you have a guy that's playing on 5 different teams in 3 years. A coach is gonna. Well, I wonder what's going on there. Well, why you jumping around or that's a good team, and you still left. Like what's, something they look into that, and I don't think kids don't realize that they do ask those questions and the importance of. I'm not saying go to a program they treat you horrible. It's a horrible experience. Well, you should stay in one place. I'm not saying that. But, bouncing around because your son's not playing the perfect spot or hitting number 3 in the lineup or, it's, can you talk a little bit about that or any insight that you may have on that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think, if you have a prospect that spent, a fall with one team, then the following summer with another, I wouldn't say it's a red flag, but it's definitely something that coaches keep in mind. If they're going to a tournament at Diamond Nation or wherever, and this kid's on this team's roster, and then they come a couple weeks later and he's on another team's roster, it's kind of like, what's going on here? Like, is this kid, if I recruit this kid, is he gonna, come to me and, promise me the world and then, kind of screw me over with a scholarship if I give it to him the next year or 2 years? It speaks a little bit about the personality for sure. And then there could definitely be some outside things that go on, but I think if you're with a program that has been established for a while and it's well connected with the local colleges and can get you in front of some schools by a simple text message or a phone call for even like a localized event, I think that's huge. I think it's huge to have a travel team that knows what they're doing, that develops their kids and has been around for a while. You see all the time that there's a fly-by-night, team for a fall, and they have a couple good players, and then they vanish by the next summer. It's a funny world, but if you have an established program, it's huge.
And I think, baseball is like a big fraternity. It's like guys know each other. They, like you just said, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes for players. One coach reaches out to a guy, the kid has no idea that it's even happening. The next thing you know, boom, 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 he goes to a game, he talks to the kid, a couple text messages later, and it's like, okay, awesome, that's what I need. And sometimes it's not even going to a specific showcase or seeing that kid. It's sometimes a coach will just ask a coach that they really trust. And there's a lot of trust in that situation, and I think there's a lot of stuff that does happen behind the scenes with coaches helping each other out, and because like you said, if there's 4 coaches on a staff and there's 10 different events going on and they're all over the country, you can't be everywhere. You need to have people that you can trust that can be your eyes and ears to at least set the tone for you to then go, and see them. So,
No, you're absolutely right.
So You know, we can talk baseball for days. I really appreciate it. We can't thank you enough for taking the time to be here at the Get Zoned In podcast. This was absolutely awesome. We look forward to building our relationship in the years to come. We wish you and the PBR family the best, and hopefully, we'll have you guys coming out here soon.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it, Duke. This has been a lot of fun.
Awesome, TJ. Thanks, man. Take care.